racing is all about. And our goal was this. The biggest doubt was the distance, and he's proved very convincingly that he can do it. Yeah.
And you've got a World Cup horse on your hands now, Satish.
That's correct. I mean, we got a World Cup horse, and today we might have a Godolphin Mile horse, and we have a UAE Derby horse, and I still have an old man at the stables who's waiting to run in the sprint and the World Cup day. So, yes, we do have a team.
And just pay tribute to your jockey, Richard Mullen, the association you've had with.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome to Racing Across America on a Saturday morning. I'm Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. Thanks also to our friends at Gulfstream for their sponsorship. Gulfstream Park, champions start here. You just saw the Maktoum Challenge number 3. It was North American over Thunder Snow. Thunder Snow, the short-priced favorite. That was the horse that had the little freak out for Godolphin in the Kentucky Derby last year, but has since come back and gotten back on track. And in fact, the last couple of races at Dubai were very good, which validated that short-priced favoritism. Seemed to be sitting in a pretty good place, but it just fell into the lap of North America. It kind of took them all the way around and pulled away a little bit in the stretch. Thunder Snow late seemed to have a little re-engage a little bit, but was no match for North America today. We'll see how it works in a few weeks in the Dubai World Cup, but 6-2, 1-3. I think that's still unofficial out in Dubai. One more at Dubai, and that'll go off at about 10:30. We'll have that for you, and because of that, we'll jump right in. And because of that, we taped some interviews yesterday, just kind of easier to work around the Dubai races that we have to play today. I'm going to jump in and give you the first interview right now, but before I do that, let me remind you or alert you, Andrew Dembski towards the bottom of the hour, paddock commentator from Tampa Bay Derby, obviously today, and other nice stakes races. We talked about all that with Andrew. A little bit later on, Dylan Davis. There is no jockey hotter in North America right now, and Dylan is on Free Drop Billy in the Gotham this afternoon. So we talked with him. We'll have that later. But we're going to start things out with John White. Big day at Santa Anita today. The Big Cap, the Santa Anita Handicap, and the San Felipe with Bolt d'Oro and McKinsey. So right now, up next, John White from Santa Anita. Happy to be joined now by our friend John White, the morning line odds maker out at Santa Anita. And you can find his selections as well at the Santa Anita website. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Seth.
Happy to talk to you in advance of a very big day out at Santa Anita. And I think an important question we have to ask here before we get started, weather, what's it look like? I know you've had some wet weather out there recently.
Well, looks like it's going to be wet at this point, so we're just going to have to kind of wait and see how it all shakes out. But the weather forecast is kind of on the grim side.
Is that unusual? I know there's a rainy season out there, but it seems like, and maybe it's just my perception because I'm not out there, but it seems like maybe it's been a little wetter, but maybe it's just been the last week and a half. I don't know.
Well, actually, kind of the trend here in Southern California oftentimes is that we'll have kind of a dry January and maybe early February, and then we can get some of these storms into March. And we even a couple of years ago with Exaggerator winning the Santa Anita Derby had a very rainy day that day at a wet track, which helped Exaggerator because he excelled on wet tracks. He was one of the most fortunate thoroughbreds I've ever seen in terms of having a wet track opportunities to win big races.
Yeah, when you brought up his name, I was not on screen, but a big smile came across my face because when we mentioned him and a wet track, that's, if Webster's had wet track horse as a definition, they would just have his picture in the dictionary.
Well, for many years when I was a chart caller with the Racing Form in the 1970s and 80s and into the early 1990s, one of my duties was to assign mud marks, and for those long in the tooth, they will remember those. Those were a little mark that appeared next to a horse's name in the past performances, and if it was a symbol that looked like kind of an asterisk, that meant a fair mud runner. An X meant a good mud runner, and an X in a circle meant a superior mud runner. The last horse I ever assigned a superior mud mark to was a mare by the name of Bayakoa.
Okay, yeah. And I remember the mud marks. I was buying the Racing Form at that time. It's funny you bring that up. And I guess maybe computer technology allowed it, but the way they do it now is much better, where you actually see the wet track record.
Well, it is better. However, this took away one of the advantages for those that would do their homework.
Yeah.
And that's something I learned that from my dad going back clear into the 1960s. When I was just a kid, and my dad kept a whole big stack of Racing Forms, and I said, "Dad, why do you do that?" And he would look up these horses. He would remember a lot of them, and also you would learn the breeding of which horses were bred to like wet tracks. But my dad would spend hours looking up these horses and would get some really good payoffs because that information wasn't right there readily available for everybody to see as we see now. When you look at the past performances, it shows a horse's record on a wet track in terms of wins, starts, wins, seconds, and thirds.
That's funny. And I remember that era, too, of having the pile of Racing Forms over in the corner of the room. I was in that camp as well. Before we get to Saturday afternoon, speaking of weather, I just wanted to go back to last Saturday, the Santa Isabel. Midnight Bijou won that one at 30 cents to the dollar. But because of the weather, there was the scratch of Dream Tree, the really nice Baffert runner. Now, Midnight Bijou goes off as the short price favorite and wins pretty easily, but without the Baffert horse in there, did she prove anything? I mean, is she a 3-year-old filly we should be paying attention to?
Oh, no question.
Okay.
First of all, I know that they've been high on her all along at that Bill Spar barn, and Bill Spar is an outstanding trainer. Won an Eclipse Award with Amazombi, who was a champion sprinter. But I've been following Bill Spar's work as a trainer for over 30 years, and they love that filly. And she's got a good rivalry going with Dream Tree. I think Midnight Bazoo was really unlucky. Definitely the second time they met, Midnight Bazoo lost by only a nose. But, I mean, it's possible that Midnight Bazoo was unlucky to lose both times she came up a nose short to Dream Tree. That said, when Dream Tree got away from Midnight Bazoo, she won the Grade 1 Starlet, and then was an impressive winner at Santa Anita as well in her first start of the year. So these are two very good fillies. At the last minute, I made Dream Tree the slight favorite over Midnight Bazoo on the morning line, even though I knew that Midnight Bazoo was going to get well bet. And obviously, when Dream Tree came out, I made Midnight Bazoo a 4-5 favor on the revised line, and she went, of course, shorter than that. But I will definitely, at this point, make Midnight Bazoo the favorite for the Santa Anita Oaks when she does meet Dream Tree again, because now Midnight Bazoo is going to have a buyer in the 90s that's going to kind of stick out like a sore thumb, plus she'll be coming in off the back-to-back wins. But Dream Tree's a very good filly. She's a quality filly. I know Baffert thinks a lot of her, too, so that should be quite a good matchup in the Santa Anita Oaks here coming up later.
Yeah, certainly the 3-year-olds on the male side from Southern California have kind of stamped themselves as having some quality this year, so it's nice to know on the filly side, pay attention to that one as well. And just, I don't want to get too far off topic, but you mentioned something that I'm always curious about, and as you are a morning line odds guy, I say it a lot of times when I look and I handicap, and we're doing the handicapping show in here in the afternoon. I'm a buyer guy, and I look at the morning line and subsequently look at the betting, and obviously that's what the morning line is kind of predicting, so you're looking to look at the betting as well. The buyers have become very important. I always say that as I look at the morning line and anticipate the betting, I think a lot of folks now look at those buyer figures and it has a real impact on the betting. And I'm assuming from what you've said, as you're making the morning line, you consider that as well.
Well, as a morning line maker, you have to take into account whatever factors you think will influence the betting. For instance, if you were making the morning line for all those years at Bay Meadows and Golden Gate, you had to take Russell Bayes into account. Anything he rode was going to get hammered for the most part. It's why one time, one of the worst morning lines I ever saw was a horse that left Santa Anita coming out of the Kilroe Mile and ran in the Turf Paradise Handicap in Phoenix, and was 10-1 on the morning line coming out of the Kilroe Mile at Santa Anita. But what made the 10-1 price ridiculous was Lafitte Penkai Jr. was riding the horse. Now, the horse has to really have horrible form in Phoenix for you to make the horse 10-1 with Penkai riding it. So, like I say, it doesn't matter what the factor is. You have to take into account whatever factor you think will drive the betting. And for years, I've said that the buyers, to a large extent, they do drive the betting. So it's one of the most important factors I take into consideration. Why? Because that's just the way it is. When a horse, they'll get oftentimes overbet because of the buyer, or they'll get underbet. You know, the same thing. Actually, we were just talking about Dream Tree. One of the things about her is she doesn't have a buyer in the 90s. But I really feel that we may not have seen her best yet. In her most recent race, she didn't come home all that strongly, and a lot of people are down on her for that, but she had missed some training time because she'd been sick. So these are factors that sometimes the people overreact to, and the fact that Dream Tree doesn't have a buyer in the 90s will help her price in the Santa Anita Oaks, and that's, as I say, when you're trying to debate on who to make favorite in that race, the filly who's going to have that really glossy-looking 90-plus buyer coming into the Oaks, to me, the chances are she's going to be the one that gets bet more than Dream Tree. That said, Dream Tree's been the favorite in all of her races and has been hammered in her last couple of races, so it wouldn't necessarily shock me if Dream Tree went favorite because she's undefeated and has been the favorite in all of her races. So,
and as you indicate, you got to pay attention. She's a Baffert horse, too.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. All of those factors kind of interesting and make the handicapping puzzle on the better's side fun, but also a puzzle for the morning line odds guys as well. You do a great job out at Santa Anita. Let's jump into Saturday afternoon's card. Let's start and kind of work our way back. The Big Cap Santa Anita Handicap Grade 1 event, $600,000, mile and a quarter. And, John, I'm going to pull up while we talk here the stretch run of the San Pasquale. It'll be number 3, Accelerate, over number 8, Prime Attraction, over number 2, Muptahij. They all come back on Saturday. I put Accelerate on top, just slightly over Opportunity. I went back and forth, but I eventually just thought, boy, Accelerate just seems to be coming into himself. Maybe a Forgo kind of a horse that is getting better as a 5-year-old, perhaps. Opportunity underneath, and then I used Prime Attraction and Muptahij in the 3rd and 4th slots. What are your thoughts on the Big Cap?
Well, my main thought is that I'm shocked that the 4th place finisher from the San Pasquale is not in the race, and that's Pavel, who had a horrible trip in the San Pasquale and finished 4th, and I think would have been a major player in this race, but they're going to go to Dubai. But they had this race sitting right here at home, and I'm very surprised that those connections didn't decide to run here. I probably still would have been making Accelerate the favorite because he won the San Pasquale, but Pavel I would have most likely had as the second favorite in the race. So to me, that's kind of a surprise. Now, Accelerate had trouble on the max stretch in the San Pasquale as well, and you know, he's been considered to be a horse that a mile and a quarter is too far for, and that still might be the case. But the way he came home in the San Pasquale is very encouraging, at least. And let's face it, this is not one of the strongest Santa Anita handicap fields we've ever seen. So this is a very good opportunity for Accelerate to step up here, and I lean to him as well. I made him the 5-2 morning line favorite. I think he will go favored in the race. But this is a race to where it's pretty wide open, I think. It's one of the more wide open big caps I've seen.
Yeah, I tend to agree. As I say, I could have gone back and forth with Accelerate or Opportunity. but you don't jump on either with a big amount of confidence because they both have perhaps some holes in there. So it's going to be fun to see how it shakes out. But Santa Anita Handicap, race 10 on Saturday afternoon. Want to work backwards and take a look at the San Felipe, one of 3 nice Derby prep races across the country on Saturday afternoon. But this may be the one that attracts the most attention. I've been saying it for a couple of weeks now, since the race down at Fairgrounds and at Oaklawn and the upset of the favorites in those races. And then last week it was added to with the defeat of Good Magic. Still kind of waiting for the cream to rise to the top. And with McKenzie and Bolt d'Oro in here, there's the potential for that to happen. I went McKenzie over Bolt d'Oro. I may regret it, though, and I put Kanthaka in the 3rd spot. Our friends at West Point Thoroughbreds, I think, have a nice horse. And that Jerry Hollendorfer kind of picked this spot over the trip to New York, I found interesting as well. But as I say, I might regret putting Bolt d'Oro in the 2nd spot. We're going to pull up some video, John, while we talk of his workout on March 5th. Bacoli is going to be on the outside, Bolt d'Oro on the inside on this workout. And after we watched the workout, this is more important, I pulled up some video that was online just yesterday of Bolt d'Oro paddock schooling. I am not a physicality guy. I look at horses in the paddock and on the track, they all look great to me. But I will say, this video of Bolt d'Oro in the paddock yesterday, he looks like $1,000,000. I think he is ready to go. And I may regret the spot I put him in. But what are your thoughts on the San Felipe?
Well, I pick at the same 1, 2, 3 that you do. You know, and I have tremendous respect for both McKenzie and Bolt d'Oro and even Kanthaka. But, you know, the thing about Bolt d'Oro is to show his potential of what he's capable of doing is his front runner was really one of the most outstanding performances by a 2-year-old that we've seen in the United States in quite a long time. It was such a sensational performance that Andy Beyer, the raw Beyer speed figure for the race was a 113. But he felt that just didn't make any sense, and that the rest of the horses, it would have meant that those horses would have been having lifetime best Beyer figures by a huge amount, and that just doesn't really figure logically. So Beyer arbitrarily lowered the figure all the way to 100. Well, that's really, I thought he overreacted in that, and I wrote about that at my ExpressBet.com column. And indeed, after the Breeders' Cup, Beyer retroactively went back and did boost Bolt d'Oro's front runner figure back up some to 103. But again, keep in mind that if you just went off the raw figure based on the time and the track variant, that would have been a 113, not a 103. So that shows you what he's capable of doing. You know, and his Breeders' Cup Juvenile, let's face it, you just throw that right out the window. I mean, it was a ridiculously wide trip that day. In fact, it's a trip that was very costly to the jockey, Corey Nakatani, because it cost him the mount with Javier Castellano coming in to ride Bolt d'Oro. I've been on the Bolt d'Oro bandwagon since his maiden win, and I really liked him in the Del Mar Futurity. He was 7-2 that day. It'll be a long, long time. In fact, probably never that you'll get 7-2 on Bolt d'Oro ever again. I made him 2-1 on the morning line here. He could even go shorter than that. I've got McKenzie at 8-5. He could go shorter than that possibly. It's a real mouth-watering matchup between these two terrific 3-year-old colts. As I say, I am picking McKenzie, though. I was blown away by his maiden win at 7 furlongs. I don't think we've seen anywhere close to the best from McKenzie yet. He's got the breeding. He's the son of a Kentucky Derby winner, Street Sense. I think the key with McKenzie is he's coming into the race undefeated, but I don't think we've seen the best from him at all yet. And yet he's been able to run a 99 Beyer and a 98 Beyer. So I think he's the type that can start spitting out those triple-digit Beyers. And McKenzie is trained just magnificently into this race. His 7 furlong workout, his final workout before the San Felipe, was a thing of beauty. 7 furlongs of 123 and change. The gallop out was just marvelous. He's coming into this race just spot on. And they've pushed Bolt d'Oro to make the race. So between two talented colts, to me, you want to go with the one that they didn't have to push to get into the race. And even the trainer, Mick Ruiz of Bolt d'Oro, has said, look, We think he'll win, but if he doesn't, it's not the end of the world as long as he runs well. The main thing is we want to use this race for the Santa Anita Derby and then the Santa Anita Derby for the Kentucky Derby. So they're looking at the big picture. It is interesting that Ruiz said if the track is sloppy, he said this to Jeremy Balin of the Blood Horse, that he would scratch and go to the Rebel. So, again, with this uncertain weather picture at Santa Anita, it's not out of the question that Bolt d'Oro could sit it out, and then you wouldn't have to worry, Seth, about picking against him because he'd be in the barn, and then we'd certainly be all aboard the McKenzie bandwagon for this race.
Yeah, at that point, McKenzie kind of jumps out. Although, again, the West Point horse is interesting to me. All right, let's go a little earlier on the card. The Frank Kilroe Mile, annually one of the best mile turf races in the country. Grade 1 event, $400,000, and it lives up to its reputation. Again, this year as Mark Casse ships in World Approval. World Approval coming off the seasonal debut at Tampa. Nice win. How often do you see a champion like this come back early in February? But he did, and now shows up in the Kilroe Mile. So it's going to go through World Approval. But I wanted to pull up, while we talk, John, the Thunder Road from February 10th. Ohm, the number 6 horse, wins. Number 2, Bowie's Hero, runs second. Number 1, Next Shares, runs third. They're all scheduled to be back on Saturday afternoon. I personally put World Approval on top, just off that phenomenal 2017 season and the seasonal debut. Bowie's Hero in second and Ohm in third for me, but I think underneath you can kind of play around a little bit perhaps. What are your thoughts on the Kilroe?
Well, I no question, we're talking about with World Approval. I mean, he's the number 2 ranked thoroughbred nationally in the NTRA poll, only behind West Coast. So I made him a 4-5 favorite for this race. He most likely will be odds on here. He's put together a nice sequence of victories for Mark Casse, a trainer who's on the Hall of Fame ballot this year, and is really, I think, just a first-rate trainer. Wanted to mention this is the Kilroe Mile, and I knew Mr. Kilroe, and everyone here called him Mr. Kilroe. He was one of the most respected racing officials in the history of the sport. Kind of broke in under John B. Campbell, who's a famous racing official back east. And Jimmy Kilroe was what he was called by everybody. And Mr. Kilroe had forgotten more about racing than most people will ever know. I mean, he's one of the most knowledgeable persons I've ever had a chance to know in this game, and it's wonderful to me that we have this race to honor him each year. He came up with the Yellow Ribbon Stakes at the Oak Tree meeting at Santa Anita for fillies and mares on the turf, and that was the race that also brought in the Matriarch at Hollywood Park. But it was that Yellow Ribbon that really was kind of the foundation that brought in the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf.
Yeah.
So that's how, what a genius kind of Mr. Kilroe was. So, World Approval, he's going to be ultra tough in this spot. And, the news that he was coming was actually broken on the Steve Mick radio show. I was listening, and Mark Casse was on as a guest, and everyone had assumed that World Approval was headed to Dubai. And Mr. Casse said to Mr. Beck, he said, well, I just got off the phone with the owner, Charlotte Weber, and we're not going to Dubai, and we're thinking of going to California for the Kilroe Mile. And I got a big grin on my face, Seth, when I heard that, because I thought, wow, we're going to get an Eclipse Award winner, it looks like here, and that's indeed the case.
Yeah, when I had Casse on my show, he said Dubai, and so like a week later, he goes on with Bick. Bick, he's out in your neighborhood this weekend.
Yep, yes, he certainly is.
Yeah, I talked to him on Wednesday. I'm going to try to get him on Sunday morning as well, do a little recap of some of the action. But a nice Kilroe Mile. And finally, I wanted to go to the Triple Bend and get some thoughts there. Grade 1 sprint, 7 furlongs. Do we know where Giant Expectations is going to go?
I just was asking a few minutes ago in contact with the racing office, and they said the scuttlebutt that they're thinking is that maybe a slight lean to the Santa Anita handicap. Okay. I'll be honest, if I were them, I would be running in the Triple Bend for $400,000 at 7 furlongs rather than the mile and a quarter Santa Anita handicap for $600,000. To me, it would be a no-brainer. But, the Santa Anita handicap's a much more prestigious race, And, Giants Expectations, it would mean a lot to him. He's not a gelding. He's a 5-year-old horse, so there's stallion considerations here. Maybe that's coming into play. I just have a big question about him at a 1.25 miles. So
Yeah, I'm with you. As I looked and saw he's cross-entered when I handicapped, I thought, boy, this is probably the better spot. Just also the field in here. I think it's a nice field, but I think it's a field he is maybe more competitive with. While we talk, John, I wanted to pull up the Malibu. We'll watch the number 1 City of Light win. I put City of Light on top off of that Malibu. Just has the look of maybe a horse that as he got to the end of the 3-year-old season and now as a 4-year-old has become improved. We'll learn more about that on Saturday. Captain Scotty, I think, is interesting. I put that one in the 3rd spot. In between those two, I had Edwards Going Left. And then I put Giant Expectations down in the 4th spot, partly because I wondered where he would go. If he winds up here, I might take an extra look and juggle things around. But what are your thoughts in the Triple Bend?
Well, Seth, I picked it the exact same 1, 2, 3, 4 for the Santa Anita program. And the key for Giant Expectations to me is why I would run here is there's no Roy H. Roy H. was supposedly running in this race, the Eclipse Award winning and Breeders' Cup sprint winning sprinter, and once he didn't enter, to me that's where I would be going with Giant Expectations. But the way it often goes, if I'm thinking that's where they probably should go, well, that would increase the chances we'll see him in the big cap. But City of Light, I think, is strictly the one to beat. That was a really good race in the Malibu. The raw time, we get so fixated on buyer figures and thoroughgraph figures and regas and sheet numbers that sometimes we just lose sight of the raw time. And the raw time was excellent, 121 and change. And he did get a good buyer, a triple digit, the first one of his career. He's trained just absolutely couldn't train better up to this race for Mike McCarthy, who I'm so pleased. He was a longtime assistant to multiple Eclipse Award winner Todd Pletcher, and Mike McCarthy's a good guy and a really good trainer, and I'm so pleased. You give him the horse like City of Light, and he'll have success. The workouts have been very good, so I think City of Light, he'll go favorite here. I made him the favorite. But the one that really is intriguing is Captain Scotty, and from what I understand, the connections there are very high on this colt. This is a big class leap for him, off a maiden and an allowance optional claiming win, but he's romped in both of those races. He has the look of a real up-and-comer, and it's certainly interesting to see Javier Castellano, the 4-time Eclipse Award winner, hop aboard for this race. So that adds a lot of intrigue to the race, I think. Captain Scotty, I gave him a lot of respect on the morning line, especially once I kind of got the feeling that the connections think they might have a real good one here. So I made him 3-1 as the co-third choice with Giant Expectations. I made Edwards Going Left. And don't sell Edwards Going Left short here. He ran a solid second to City of Light in the Malibu, and then could not have looked any better in the California Cup Sprint. And his buyer from that race, 102, matched the 102 of City of Light in the Malibu. So Edwards Going Left is a major presence in this race as well for trainer John Sadler. Sadler, with a contender here in Edwards Going Left and the morning line favorite for the big cap and Accelerate.
I think it's a fun race, a short field, but I think it's a very competitive field and fun and could provide some sprinters to pay attention to in the division going forward. You mentioned Castellano just before we let you go. Did I read that he actually went out to work Bolt d'Oro, Castellano?
Yes, he did,
Yeah,
and he worked him from the gate, and Bolt d'Oro did not come out of the gate smoothly, and that's been a little bugaboo with him throughout his career. In fact, the bobbling at the start from an outside post in the Breeders' Cup proved, kind of his undoing that day. And now he's going to be down there on the inside. He's not the worst gate horse I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of, terrible gate horses. He's not in that league, but it's not his strength. And so even in that workout, the 2 back where it was a gate drill, he did not come out of the gate smoothly. He's not a great gate horse. So, but at least Castellano got, a chance to get acquainted with him, which is good because now, he knows the horse better for this race. And but like I say, I'll be watching both McKenzie and Bolt d'Oro with the starting gate, but most especially Bolt d'Oro because of his tendency to not break all that alertly.
And again, we're looking for some 3-year-old to kind of validate and continue on this Derby trail with being able to string a few together. Bolt d'Oro now, starting the season, but Mackenzie already having some starts under the belt this season. So we'll see if they can string a couple together and kind of step away from the pack a little bit. Derby Future Pool 3 also this weekend. So make sure you sit out the Saturday and see what the results are before you bet into that. John, as always, appreciate the conversation. We wish you and everybody good luck at Santa Anita on Saturday afternoon. And as I say, always fun to talk to you.
Thanks a lot, Seth. Take care.
John White from Santa Anita. Big day from them with the Big Cap and the San Felipe and some other great stakes action. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Them here. He's a very talented horse. We've seen that, and he's well worth a go over this trip, up 400 metres from last time. They're loading up then ahead of our 7th and final contest, the Dubai City of Gold Stakes, sponsored by Emirates Sky Cargo.
Final race of the night, and they're being loaded away. So we're not too far off the start here. Only 4 more to come forward for the final race. About to go forward is Best Solution, who's drawn the outside. Now coming along is Gold Star. Newland's about to go up, and Treasury Notes. Final race of Super Saturday, 3 weeks out from the Dubai World Cup night of racing. So we're just about set. Treasury Notes takes up its spot. Now they're right. Ready to run. They're racing in the Dubai City of Gold, and Treasury Notes was clearly the last to begin. Hawkbill shows good speed and driving through his call to the bar, and Jansoon's being hustled up there, along with Earnshaw off the inside to hold a spot with Frontiersman. So a bit of a charge into the first corner. Guilt Complex and Best Solution are trapped out wide. Going to the lead is Frontiersman as they make their way up the side towards the back. Jansoon around the outside to second. Earnshaw being steadied back to third from call to the bar, then a Hawkbill. Guilt Complex trapped out wide going forward. They will follow in turn then as they race their way into the back by Best Solution, and over on the inside next of all there as they go to the back is Alhame as good. Complex might have gone amiss, as being pulled out of it. They were followed by El Sahem. Getting back is Treasury Notes over on the inside, followed by Trouble, of course. A fair way back in the field is Gold Star, and Newlands was back at the rear. 25.8 was the lead section on. Frontiersman shows the way as they run down the back. Going up on the outside, Best Solution was trapped wide, so worked around the outside of the breeze now from Jansoon. Earnshaw over on the inside. Next of all there is Hawkbill, followed between them by Call to the Bar, and over on the inside next is Alhame. Then 2 lengths away in the field to El Sahem. They were followed by Treasury Notes, then Trouble, of course. A fair way back is Gold Star, and Newlands over on the inside. About to come off the back, and Frontiersman shows the way. Has done it well from the front. Best Solution in second. Earnshaw's very handy to them over on the inside from Jansoon. Now Hawkbill given a little bit more rain by Buick, slides around the outside. They were followed by Alhame as they come down towards the bend, followed by Call to the Bar. It's tracking into it well. Trouble, of course, then Treasury Notes. Fair way back is Gold Star about to come to the outside. They were followed next by Al Sahem, and over on the inside is Newlands. For home they come. 500 metres to go in the final race. Frontiersman's done it well, but Hawkbill looms up on the outside, runs to a clear second now. Around the outside, Called to the Bars, travelled into it quite strongly. They were followed by Earnshaw, but Hawkbill went for home. Hawkbill loomed alongside a Frontiersman. Got about 3/4 of a length, then Called to the Bar. Finishing on out in the middle is Gold Star. Hawkbill the leader, but Frontiersman is coming back over on the inside. Hawkbill just in front. Frontiersman grinding away over on the inside. Hawkbill finding enough down to the wire. They hit it, Hawkbill. Hawkbill a short half hit over Frontiersman. A gap off to Gold Star, running on strongly, then Called to the Bar. Followed by El Sahem, making good ground late with Newlands. Next in was Trouble, of course, followed by Earnshaw. Then came Best Solution, Jansoon. Well back in the run was Treasury Notes. And one of the last to come across the line was Alhame, with Guilt Complex pulled out of the race early on.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
On World Cup preview night, race number 7, the final race, the Dubai City of Gold now in the books. I believe it was 11-2 6-3. Hold your tickets, obviously. Hawksbill, nice comeback race. Last seen here in North America, running a close second after leading most of the way in the Northern Dancer up at Woodbine. That was back in the middle of September, so pretty good-looking comeback effort for Hawkbill. Just holds off Frontiersman, a couple of Godolphin runners there, and again, 6-3 underneath those two, so 11-2, 6-3. But again, hold your tickets to make sure that order of finish and the numbers I have are correct. But wrapping up a nice Dubai World Cup preview night at Meydan in Dubai. Hopefully you enjoyed and cashed some tickets this morning. Want to thank our friend John White, who we had at the top of the show leading into that race. Lots of good info on a big day out at Santa Anita. Again, highlighted by the Santa Anita Handicap, the Big Cap, and the San Felipe with Bolt Dioro and McKenzie and Kenthakos, the West Point horse as well. All right, we'll shift our attention now to Tampa Bay. They also have a big day today, highlighted by the Tampa Bay Derby, but there's a nice undercard of stakes races as well. We caught up yesterday with Andrew Dembski, the paddock commentator, got some of his thoughts on the big stakes day this afternoon at Tampa Bay. Up now, Andrew Dembski. We live vicariously watching you guys down there in Florida and really looking forward to the action Saturday afternoon. Let's jump right into the Tampa Bay Derby. And Andrew, while we talk, going to pull up the Sam Davis from February 10th, the stretch run. It'll be number 2, Flame Away, and number 6, Catholic Boy. Nice ding-dong battle. Flame Away with the never say die attitude, though, holds on to win. Catholic Boy second. Vino Rosso runs third for Todd Pletcher. I didn't know what to do with Vino Rosso. I put Untamed Domain on top. Obviously, there's a question mark on the surface, but I thought Flame Away with some early speed and World of Trouble, who I find intriguing. I wonder if they'll go out, and with the big race that Flame Away put in the Sam Davis, maybe won't have as much in the stretch. And I thought there might be a closing kick from Untamed Domain. As I say, I'm taking a little bit of a shot there because of the surface switch. I thought Grandpa Knows Best for Kenny McPeak also might be a little bit interesting. What are your thoughts in the Tampa Bay Derby?
Yeah, that's interesting because my top 3 picks, I'm about to actually go through once again with a few people, but my top 3 picks are, I'm actually going to use Vino Rosso on top, and then I have World of Trouble and Untamed Domain, so we're kind of on the same page. I actually tossed Flame Away, and I mean, Mark Casse, after the Sam F. Davis, was pretty high on this one. He even said, if another horse looks me in the eye, I'm not going to get beat. So he was pretty confident that that would happen. And that's exactly what played out with Catholic Boy coming up alongside Flame Away and Flame Away coming back to win. But I just think Flame Away kind of benefited from the pace scenario that day. The other speed horse scratched out of the race, Vouch. Flame Away had a short field and had it his own way up front. Sure, he was about as game as they come, but Vino Rosso winds up galloping out past the both of them. Todd Pletcher kind of owns this race the last few years. So I'm going to use Pletcher's horse on top. World of Trouble, though, is probably the most intriguing horse in here, as World of Trouble already has the stakes win over the surface, and World of Trouble, after talking to Antonio Gallardo after the last race, didn't really corner well in the Pasco, and Gallardo said he kind of spooked a little bit from some of the tracks in the racing surface, and I had to kind of get him back on track, and once I got him focused, he ran on well. Well, if he wasn't focused that day and won by 13, what's he going to do if his head's in the game?
Picks up one of the Ortiz brothers as well. Irod on World of Trouble, Jose Ortiz on Untamed Domain. Yeah, I didn't know what to do with Vino Rosso. As I said, I left him out. I may regret that. I was talking with Brian Addo earlier on the Handicappers Report. He also likes Vino Rosso. And now, are you kind of looking at this as being a Pletcher horse? A, as you say, it's Pletcher, and he's done well in the race. But B, it's a lightly raced horse who just seems to be on the improve, perhaps.
Well, that's exactly it. And the way the horse did gallop out, I think this horse just is figuring things out. And that's kind of what you have to guess when you're handicapping 3-year-olds in general, is who's going to be improving and who's putting the pieces together. And the way the horse finally extended his stride in deep stretch in the final 16th and past the wire, I think Vino Rosso might be that horse.
Going to be interesting. Clearly, some players for the Kentucky Derby will be coming out of the Tampa Bay Derby on Saturday, but it's also a nice stakes card underneath as well. Let's go back to race 10 on the Saturday card, the Florida Oaks Grade 3 event for, as the name indicates, 3-year-old fillies, but these are 3-year-old fillies on the turf. Fun race. I put the Chad European horse, Altia, on top. Hasn't been seen since October at Deauville, but nice European campaign. Seems to have some nice steady workouts at Palmettos. Jose Ortiz on board. So I think it may go through that horse, but Almond Roca for Graham Motion. And we're going to go back and watch the Gasparilla. This was January 20th. Almond Roca, the number 2 horse here, wins pretty nicely as the 3-5 favorite. So a couple of races and a couple of wins over the surface, the dirt surface, however. So like Untamed Domain is going turf to dirt, Almond Roca going the other way, dirt to turf. But I do trust Graham Motion, and with the horse having a couple of wins leading into this, I think that horse is interesting at an 8-1 price. So I put Altia over Almond Roca, Andina Del Sur in the 3rd spot, and Beckoning in the 4th spot. What are your thoughts on the Florida Oaks?
Well, I actually have the exact same top 2 as you, again, in your very similar picks in the Derby and very similar picks in the Oaks. I did use Altia on top in here. Big question mark, obviously, the layoff, but ran some big races in France, and when you break your maiden against 14 rivals, that's always very impressive. I thought that really stood out, and then runs 2 decent enough races with Anthony Crassus aboard, and Crassus actually rode here. Nice little rider he rode here last season.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So it's very interesting to see his name in the PPs here. But Altia is a big question mark, and I think Almond Roca, I think that's an absolute sneak in here. I spoke with Graham Motion after the win in the Gasparilla, and, you always kind of want to know where the horse might go. And he said, I might take this filly to Ascot. I think she's going to be better on the turf. Yeah, so here we go. Here's turf long, and Almond Roca is going to get that shot. And to be fair, I went back and watched the maiden breaking race, and granted, it was a sprint, a turf sprint, but my goodness, did she open up her stride in the lawn. So he might be absolutely right. This horse might just love the turf, and if she does, she's going to be a pretty big price against this crew. So pretty interesting to see what Almond Roca does, but you have to trust the opinion of Graham Motion. And if this horse does happen to come out on top of the Oaks, who knows? Maybe we will see her at Ascot in the future.
Yeah, and again, Andina Del Sur has finished behind The Way I Am the last couple of starts, and she's kind of at the top of this subdivision of 3-year-old fillies on the turf right now. And horses we haven't mentioned, closer still from Mark Cassie, Jehozakat, Arnaud Delacour, and Layel Stable. Super Striking goes out for a Live Oak Plantation. I think that Florida Oaks is loaded on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. You didn't even touch on the outside horse, the other Chad Brown. So wouldn't be surprised if it's Chad Brown Exacta. I just don't love the post, obviously, breaking so wide with Salsa Bella. But who knows? She's a deep closer. So she might just tuck in, save some ground, and make a big run.
All right, and finally, let's take a look at the Grade 2 Hillsborough, 1 1/8 on the grass. I really like La Coronel, and so I kind of debated putting her on top because she's a horse that I followed throughout the career and have just been on board really regularly. She went off as the even money favorite last time in the Endeavor and wound up finishing 2nd. But instead, I put Off Limits on top, the Chad Brown runner. We're going to go back to the Matriarch, which was the last start for Off Limits. It was November of last year at Del Mar. Off Limits will be the number 8 horse in here. And I just think maybe it's Chad Brown. It's a horse that, making the first start of the season, but the way this horse ended the season last year, she was just in really good form. I put her on top, but again, I debated about La Coronel. Have that one in the 2nd spot. 4-Star Crook, nice little New York bred for Chad Brown, could be intriguing as well. What are your thoughts in the Hillsborough?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I actually have La Coronel on top, and I think La Coronel, when it comes down to it, Off Limits, even a fresh horse who might sit a little closer off such a long layoff, I just have a hard time trusting those deep closing types. Everything has to go right when you're a deep closer. You have to get the trip, you have to get the setup, you have to avoid traffic. So I think La Coronel, who will be more forwardly placed, clearly loves this turf course. I mean, she's run 2nd here twice, but 2nd to 55 in the Oaks, who came over the top of them all in deep stretch, blanket finish. And last time out, Donna Bruja turned the tables on La Coronel. Donna Bruja was supposed to be the closer for Ignacio, and she goes straight to the front and runs them off their feet. So what are you going to do? But I just think La Coronel has the early speed to be well positioned in here. And then you have the deep closing types from the Chad Brown barn. And then you have, of course, Daddy's Little Darling, who we didn't mention, who might just get the perfect trip, as she has a very similar running style to La Coronel. Can be more forwardly placed. Well, really, she can do it all, to be honest. But she's just a nice little filly, and we'll see if she's ready for Kenny McPeak.
Yeah, I think it's a fun stakes card. We haven't even mentioned all the stakes, but it's a really nice card. on Saturday afternoon. Andrew, before we let you go, just kind of an overview. We're kind of deep into the meet now. Pulled up the stats on the trainer's side. Nice ding-dong battle. Kathleen O'Connell just slightly over Gerald Bennett. Arnaud Delacour kind of chasing well behind in third. But over on the jockey side, Gallardo and Dan Centino sitting in the 1-2 positions, with Gallardo having a pretty good lead. Sammy Camacho, though, has had a pretty good meet.
Yeah, Sammy, I think, last couple of weeks has caught everybody's eye. He's been kind of the up-and-comer here. He's been around a little while now, but I think this last couple of seasons he's really starting to develop. He's really starting to get on some nice horses. So it's good to see some of our top trainers riding him more often. In the last few weeks, he's been absolutely red hot. I don't think he's going to catch Gallardo or Centeno. But from a horse player standpoint, he's kind of the rider that gets overlooked, and he's bringing in some nice horses at nice prices, so definitely pay attention to what he's been doing.
And that's kind of the interesting handicapping aspect of it. Sometimes these guys will get a little hot into the meet a little bit and get perhaps overlooked on some horses and can bring them in at some prices. So did want to toss that out there. Hopefully some prices on the Saturday card with the Tampa Bay Derby and a nice undercard stake. And we will certainly be watching for your suggestions on the Paddock pregame broadcast during the day. Andrew, always appreciate the conversation, and good luck to you and everybody at Tampa on Saturday afternoon.
Thank you so much, Steph. You take care.
Andrew Dembski from Tampa Bay Downs. Tampa Saturday card highlighted by the Tampa Bay Derby. Thanks to Andrew. We'll take a quick break. Again, a jam-packed show, so we'll go to a quick break. We'll come back. Dylan Davis, he's on board Free Drop Billy in the Gotham this afternoon. We'll have him right after this. Stay with us.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Sign up today for Capital OTB's handicapping series and plan your trip to Las Vegas.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back. As promised, coming up, Dylan Davis. We taped this interview yesterday. Our man Sully Karate was actually in the house to do a bankroll promotion yesterday, so Sully sat in and co-hosted. Dylan Davis, of course, the son of a longtime New York fixture and fan favorite Robbie Davis. Robbie also the father of Jackie and Katie Davis, another pair of Davis jockeys. But boy, this winter, nobody hotter than Dylan Davis. You go back a couple weeks, he had the nice 6-win day, and he is currently the leading rider at Aqueduct during the winter meet. Up next, Dylan Davis. There's nobody hotter in New York right now on the jockey scene than Dylan Davis. Good morning, Dylan.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
We're happy to have you. As I say, it's been a great season for you. We want to touch on a little bit of that. And also, you got some nice stakes mounts coming up on Saturday afternoon. We'll hit on that as well. But to start out, I just wanted to go back because anybody paying attention to New York racing, about 3 weeks ago now, February 20th, a 6-win day. And I have the list here of the elite company you joined: Angel Cordero, Cawthon, Ramon Dominguez, Bill Shoemaker, Mike Smith, Georgie Velasquez, John Velasquez, among the few that have wound up with 6 wins in one day on the NYRA circuit. Take us through that afternoon and what the feeling was as you piled on the wins.
Just an incredible day overall. Just taking it race by race, and I always come in with a positive attitude, and my agent also. He thought I was going to have a couple winner day, but we never thought it was going to be a 6-winner day. But it just race by race, and it never really hit me until I got my 5th winner, because it was just the flow of the day. It was great. Just when Andy Sterling said after my 5th or 6th winner that I could possibly beat the record of most wins on a NYRA circuit, that really got my jitters going a little bit, and just an overall day I will never forget. And also, my father told me the best win day he had was a 5-winner day, and he said, but you still got a long way to go. So it was a great day and a memorable day.
I was actually sitting in here doing a handicapping program on Capital OTB TV that afternoon, so we're kind of following along and seeing what a great day you had. You had to feel like the magic was working, though. I think it was win number 3, maybe number 4. You actually got moved up on a DQ.
Yes, my 5th winner from Mark Cassey. I got in a duel with Manny Franco, and he happened to bump me twice down the lane. And I took a chance. I took the inquiry, objection, and they happened to put me up, and I thought that was the right decision made. But to be put up there, and then that's my 5th winner, I wanted to keep going. That was a good feeling to get that.
Yeah, just a question, because I grew up in Saratoga as well, and your agent's Mike Migliori. That's obviously the brother of Rich Migliori. So I just want to know, the relationship, how the relationship is with them, and then how they have helped you through your riding career, especially Rich's advice.
With me and Mike, I like working with Mike because he's a very hardworking person. He's got great work ethics, and he's a go-getter kind of guy. And with me also, with my father, he raised me in that same aspect. So with us working together like that, we put together a great team. Also with Richie as his brother, as for some guidance. For me, it's also like another mentor for racing, and I can really put a lot of trust into his words and also my father's words because of my father, but just to have both of them as riders to critique my style and improve my skills is just a great tool in my belt there.
Yeah, and also that now you are the leading rider in the NYRA circuit. Just something that is obviously very interesting, and it's awesome to see a local kid here that's leading the NYRA circuit. Just talk about the experience that has, the experience this year, how the leading the NYRA circuit, what that means to you.
It means a lot. I worked very hard. I put a lot of time in the New York circuit, and just to get rewarded for this winter, it's been great. I want to keep going. I want to keep pushing through Belmont Meet. But it's been very rewarding this winter, and I want to keep going. I want to get that good horse. I want to be in that tier, that top tier of group with the jockeys there, and being in a hometown for Saratoga. When I go there to Saratoga Meet, I have a lot of friends there, family and friends from high school. They're rooting for me every day, and it's nice to have that being there, part of my business and circuit, where I can go during the summertime and have friends there to be rooting for me.
Anything in particular you attribute the great winter season to?
Just hard work. I feel like
Sure.
just my hard work has really helped me get to where I'm at today.
And talk about that a little bit. I'm always curious because I think every jockey has a different situation. How do you prep for a day at the races? Obviously, in the mornings, you work out horses. You have to make those connections with trainers. But when you subsequently, the entries come out and you know who you're going to be on a certain day, what's the work the night before or the morning of the races that you have to do to prep for the day?
Prepping for the races, well, I start off around 5:30 in the morning, depending on my schedule for the morning. But usually I have a couple horses, 2 to 3 horses every day working. But that's just based on me wanting to work in the morning, so the trainers know, so they're willing to put me on horses to work. But prepping up after that, the day before, I usually go through my homework, the DRF papers, and do all my handicapping the night before to make sure I'm prepped and ready. So then my main focus is just the morning workouts. And then after that, I'll head home. I would take care of my son and my family, eat a little bit of breakfast, and then get back out and head to the track. And I'll do some workouts, some warm-ups and some stretches. And then I'll just recap over all my races that I have to ride that day, and just kind of review of what kind of ideas. So then when I'm ready, in between races, I can go out there and know what I'm doing.
And I know you're a guy who spent some time at the Chris McCarron School down in Kentucky, the jockey school, and clearly part of that is learning to ride and race ride and whatnot. But is part of their curriculum also to teach you that look at the racing form and kind of decide what the pace is going to be? Is that part of their plan as well?
Yes, for the Chris McCarron School, well, it was kind of difficult with because there was other class members there that were starting from almost ground zero.
Okay.
And it kind of slowed down the speed there. But also, like with my father and Richie, Chris McCarron to this day is still giving me advice, and that school was a great basic ground setting. He really taught you to really respect the horseman from the bottom up, and he did cover all aspects of the races, not only just the riding, but the handicapping, everything overall with the horse racing business, with breeding and just a general knowledge of that. But it was a great thing for me to go to, and I will remember that too. Also, it's just Chris McCarron is a good mentor too.
Just moving on a little bit towards the weekend, but first I wanted to ask, you're winning in the toboggan with great stuff, and that was the first graded stakes. How important, that had to be the highlight for you, I would guess, besides the 5 and 6 day win at this Aqueduct meet. But how important was it to get that graded stakes on your resume?
Oh, incredible. With that win, I feel like I'm breaking through there to that next class. And for David Jacobson, he's been very honorable to me and given me a lot of chances to get the job done. And he knew that day that if I was to ride great stuff, that he knew I would get that job done, and we did. And now that picture's hanging up on my wall in my house.
I don't blame you. Tomorrow, Saturday afternoon, great stuff comes back in the Tom Fool, another graded stakes race. So you have a chance to add another graded stake to the resume there. But we just watched the stretch run of the toboggan. That was at 7 furlongs, a nice decisive win. Cuts back to 6 in the Tom Fool on Saturday. Do you have any concerns about the cutback, the furlong cutback? Because it was certainly a nice win with a 102 buyer figure in the toboggan.
Yes, a little bit of a concern there, but there was not too many options. I think he was looking at the mile also, but he has Harlan Punch also into that race. But a little concern with a little cutback, that extra eighth, that's less of an eighth. But with that being said, you're going to have to warm up a little more aggressive and get him on his toes a little more because of that extra eighth he really needs. But just hoping that the pace sets up pretty hot up front to where it kind of sets up for him later on.
Interesting. I want to move on to the Gotham because you're slated to be on Free Drop Billy. He was cross-centered at Tampa, but our friend Dave Grenig tweeted out last night, I think, that the Tex Sutton plane was headed to Florida to bring Free Drop Billy and entice to New York. So you're scheduled to be on. First, how did you get the mount on Free Drop Billy?
Well, with Dale Romans, Richie Migliori was just doing rounds. He works with the Express Vet, and he was following horses, and Dale Romans needed a rider for the Gotham, and Robbie Alvarado happened to be he has to be over at Oaklawn that Saturday, and he was looking for a rider, and he just threw my name in the hat.
Nice.
He said, lead a rider, and he can get the job done for you. He was being a good salesman, so with that pitch, it also helps me, and not really sure, just that mainly Richie. He threw my name in that. I also had an opportunity to ride Kentucky for Jerry Hellendorfer, but he opted out to run over in the San Felipe Stakes here Saturday.
Well, pretty good substitute though. You have the 9-5 morning line favorite in Free Drop Billy, and obviously he's been out of town recently, but you get the mount on the move to New York. What do you do in a situation like this where you haven't really seen a horse before? What's the prep work involved for the Gotham on Saturday afternoon?
Well, I've actually been watching this horse with his runs, so I know this horse pretty well. I did actually take a trip to Florida these past couple off days to say hello to some trainers, and I did stop by to Dale to talk to him about this horse and personally, and with that helps a lot, and to give me some advice. But more importantly, I talked to Robbie Alvarado about him already to give me an idea about him, and just watching replays, just doing my homework with that.
We wish you a lot of good luck, obviously, on all the stakes on Saturday. Before I let you go, I want to ask, because there is the reduced schedule in March, the 3-day schedule in New York in March, you looking for some out-of-town days to get a few extra races in?
Yes, it's kind of difficult right now. I was looking to go to parks to ride these 2 off days, and they have the quarantine going on.
Oh, right.
So that's kind of limiting me there. I did rounds over at Florida this past couple days. Maybe I could shift down for a couple Wednesday, Thursday, the following week. So maybe that will pop up. But I'm just really trying to stay busy with this month, because the 3 days of racing is very tough for riders.
And bettors as well, but we certainly have enjoyed watching you this winter. It's been a great season. Obviously, the 6-win day. Wish you a lot of luck in the stakes action on Saturday afternoon. Dylan, again, we appreciate the visit. Good luck.
Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you.
All right, Dylan Davis, again, Free Drop Billy in the Gotham on Saturday afternoon, and really a great season. Currently the leading rider down at Aqueduct. Yeah, wish Dylan a lot of luck. Fun local boy, as it were, is when Robbie Davis retired, moved the family up here to the Saratoga area. Again, looking forward to rooting Dylan Davis on Saturday. Free Drop Billy, great stuff. Some other stakes mounts as well. And just as I say, a phenomenal red-hot winter season for Dylan Davis. A little bit earlier, Andrew Dembski. A little bit before that, John White. So we kind of covered the 3 venues that have some very, very nice action this afternoon: Santa Anita, Tampa Bay, and New York. Each of them having a Derby prep and some nice undercard stakes as well. All of that here on the network. A reminder, there's also a cross-country pick 4 today. That'll kick off in the Tom Fool at Aqueduct, race number 9, which will go off a little after 5 o'clock. But the cross-country pick 4, it's Aqueduct and Santa Anita. The Tom Fool, the Kilroe, the Gotham, and the San Felipe. So keep that in mind for this afternoon. Also keep in mind Kentucky Derby Future Pool 3 is this weekend. Closes tomorrow, Sunday at 6 o'clock. Obviously, you want to sit out. Don't make your bet this afternoon. Sit out, watch these Derby preps, and get a better idea of that, and then shop around for some value or what you find to be value tomorrow in Kentucky Derby Future Pool 3. Don't forget also, set our clocks back. tonight. Actually, not the clock. Your clock's forward tonight. You lose an hour. Spring forward. So don't forget to move your clock forward. I mention that because we want you all here tomorrow for more Racing Across America. So don't forget to reset the clock when you go to bed tonight. Move it forward. Spring forward, fallback. Post times coming up. We're about an hour away from Gulfstream. They kick off today at noon. Tampa Bay at 12:12 and Aqueduct at 12:50. We'll have all three of those tracks on OTB Live in just about an hour and a half or so. Oaklawn will join the meet join the mix a little bit later on this afternoon as well. So should be a lot of fun. Again, I'll be back in about an hour and a half or so with OTB Live. Hope you enjoyed Racing Across America this morning. Nice full slate. We, as I say, we recorded some interviews so we could work around that live Dubai race we had in the middle of the show as well, because it was a nice morning for us, evening for them in Dubai today, previewing World Cup night. Don't forget, starting Thursday, this Thursday the 15th through Sunday the 18th, Mega March Madness here at the Clubhouse Racebook. It's going to be a lot of fun. You can watch all the NCAA games. You can watch all the racing action, and there will also be spins of the prize wheel. So come on in, put your name in the hat. Folks randomly selected to spin the prize wheel again. That's coming up starting Thursday the 15th, going Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Don't forget, Bet 50, Get 50 continues through the month of March. Sign up for a brand new account. Bet $50 in before the end of the month, and you get $50 put into your account by Capital OTB. I want to thank our friends at Gulfstream for their sponsorship. Gulfstream Park, champions start here. Speaking of Gulfstream, they're doing the pregame show. It's Ron and Acacia, so I will step out, let them step in and give some ideas for Gulfstream on this Saturday afternoon. Again, be back in about an hour and a half. Thanks for tuning in this morning. We'll see you again tomorrow morning for more Racing Across America.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.